On a cold autumn night, when the wind howled through barren trees, Liam arrived at Blackwood Mansion, a sprawling, decaying estate that had long been abandoned by the living. Local legends spoke of a curse that had doomed its inhabitants to an eternity of suffering. With nothing but a flickering lantern and an insatiable curiosity, he pushed open the creaking iron gate and stepped into a realm where time seemed to have frozen. The mansion's facade, covered in ivy and shadows, loomed like a specter against the moonlit sky. As Liam approached the heavy wooden door, an inexplicable chill ran down his spine. Inside, the air was thick with dust and a lingering sense of dread. Every footstep on the creaking floorboards echoed through the vast, empty halls, as though the house itself were whispering secrets of a long-forgotten tragedy. In the grand foyer, a massive chandelier, its crystals dulled by time, hung precariously above. Liam's lantern cast erratic beams across faded portraits whose eyes seemed to follow his every move. A large, ornate mirror, its surface mottled and cloudy, dominated one wall. Rumor had it that this mirror was the vessel of the curse, a portal through which unspeakable horrors seeped into the mortal world. Drawn to the mirror, Liam noticed an inscription in elegant archaic script along its frame. In reflection lies the truth of despair. The words resonated in his mind as he hesitantly reached out to touch the cold, rough glass. In that instant, his surroundings blurred, and a series of nightmarish visions flooded his senses. He saw fleeting images of anguished faces, violent storms of shadow, and a sorrowful figure, a pale woman clad in tattered garments, beckoning him deeper into the mansion's hidden depths. Shaken yet compelled, Liam followed a narrow corridor that seemed to twist and stretch beyond normal dimensions. In a dusty study, he discovered an old leather-bound diary, its pages brittle and ink faded. The diary recounted the tragic fate of the Blackwood family, a series of misfortunes, betrayal, and a forbidden pact with a malevolent force. The final entry was a desperate plea, warning that the curse would claim any soul that dared disturb its resting place. As midnight approached, the mansion seemed to come alive. Whispered voices echoed in the halls, and unseen hands brushed against Liam's skin. The spectral presence of the pale woman manifested before him, her eyes hollow and sorrowful. "You have awakened the curse," she murmured in a voice like distant thunder. "Now your fate is sealed with ours." Before he could answer, the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. In that moment of terror, Liam realized that escape was futile. The mansion's ancient curse had reached out to claim him, entwining his destiny with its own endless cycle of misery. The ghostly figure faded into the blackness, leaving behind only the echo of a warning and the oppressive silence of a house steeped in despair. For what felt like an eternity, Liam wandered the labyrinthine corridors, every door leading to another chamber of horrors. The mansion's walls whispered secrets of betrayal and loss, and every creak of the floor told a tale of pain. The cursed mirror, now shattered into countless fragments scattered across the cold marble floor, reflected not his image but visions of a tormented soul lost in time. By the time dawn broke, Liam was no longer the curious wanderer who had arrived at Blackwood Mansion. He had become one with its darkness, a living testament to the curse that bound every inch of its rotting halls. His final scream was swallowed by the oppressive silence, leaving only the legacy of the mansion's eternal torment. And so, the legend of Blackwood Mansion grew ever darker. a warning to all who dared seek the truth behind its haunted walls. In the outskirts of a forgotten town, where winding roads cut through dense, misty forests, a legend persisted of a carnival that appeared only when the moon was high and the world was cloaked in darkness. No one knew precisely when or why it emerged, but those who encountered it were forever changed. One chilly autumn evening, as dusk surrendered to night, Marcus, a skeptical traveler, found himself stranded on a desolate road after his car broke down near an abandoned highway. The air was thick with fog, and the only sound was the rustle of dead leaves. In the distance, a faint melody, reminiscent of a haunting calliope tune, drifted through the mist. Intrigued yet apprehensive, Marcus decided to follow the sound. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the fog thickened and the melody grew louder, more insistent. Soon, emerging from the shadows, a surreal spectacle unfolded before his eyes. A carnival, resplendent yet eerie, with its tents illuminated by flickering otherworldly lights. The vibrant banners and whimsical rides clashed with an ominous atmosphere, creating a tableau both beautiful and unsettling. Marcus's heart bounded as he approached the entrance, where a worn sign read, "Welcome to the Carnival of Shadows. Enter if you dare." Inside, the carnival was a labyrinth of distorted reflections and uncanny performers. The air carried the scent of stale popcorn mixed with a hint of decay. There were rides that defied logic, roller coasters spiraling into nothingness, and funhouses where mirrors twisted familiar images into grotesque parodies. Amid the eerie laughter and murmurs, Marcus overheard a small group gathered at a fortune teller's booth, whispering about cursed souls trapped in endless revelry and a mysterious ringmaster whose very presence was both magnetic and terrifying. Compelled by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Marcus approached the fortune teller, an elderly woman draped in tattered shawls. Her dark, knowing eyes locked onto his as she spoke in a voice that echoed from a long-forgotten past. "The carnival is no mere entertainment," she intoned gravely. "It is a gateway between worlds. Those who enter may find treasures beyond imagination, but they also risk the curse of eternal wandering in a realm where time loses all meaning." Her words sent a chill through him, yet they stirred an irresistible desire to unravel the carnival's secrets. Determined to learn more, Marcus wandered through the carnival and encountered bizarre attractions. In one tent, a jester with a perpetual eerie grin recited cryptic verses about lost souls and forbidden dreams. In another, a mirror maze not only reflected his image, but also flashed fleeting visions of other lives, glimpses of individuals trapped in moments of both despair and ecstasy. With every step, the enigma deepened as the carnival itself seemed to shift and breathe, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. As midnight neared, the true nature of the carnival began to reveal itself. The music slowed, the lights dimmed, casting long, dancing shadows, and at the center of the fairground stood an enormous carousel, its once joyful figures now twisted into macabre forms. Then the ringmaster appeared, a tall figure in a tattered suit with eyes burning like embers. In a voice smooth as velvet, yet cold as the grave, he declared, "You have chosen to witness our world, but heed this. When the clock strikes midnight, the carnival claims every soul that wanders here, binding them to an eternal dance of shadows." In that fateful moment, as the clock began its relentless toll, the ground beneath Marcus trembled. The carousel spun faster, its eerie music rising to a fever pitch, while ghostly figures emerged from the fog with faces contorted in silent agony. Marcus felt invisible chains tighten around his very soul. Panic surged within him, yet every attempt to flee only drew him deeper into the carnival's inescapable grasp. Time warped as the carnival's energy intensified. The boundaries between the physical world and the realm of shadows blurred until Marcus could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. He glimpsed images of previous visitors, lost souls doomed to wander this spectral fair forever. The ringmaster's ominous smile widened, his final words echoing in Marcus's mind. "Your fate is sealed. Welcome to the Carnival of Shadows." When the first rays of dawn finally pierced the horizon, the carnival evaporated into the morning mist, leaving behind only an empty clearing. Marcus's car remained broken, and the forest stood silent and undisturbed by the night's bizarre events. Yet Marcus was forever altered. He carried with him the lingering chill of that haunted carnival and a haunting melody that played softly in his mind. A constant reminder of the night he stepped beyond the veil of reality and into a realm ruled by shadows and cursed souls. It was midnight when Ethan Williams, a determined investigative reporter, found himself drawn to the abandoned railway near Deadman's Junction. Local legends spoke of a spectral train, the final ride for tormented souls, that appeared once a year on the coldest winter night. As Ethan approached the dilapidated station, a biting chill filled the air, as though nature itself mourned a long-forgotten tragedy. Growing up in a small town, Ethan had listened to hushed whispers about a ghostly locomotive that ferried lost souls into a realm of endless sorrow. Now, determined to capture this eerie phenomenon on film, he set up his camera on the crumbling platform. Under a sickly moon, the rusted tracks, overgrown with weeds, lay silent, until a distant rumble shattered the stillness. Faint lights began to appear along the rails, and a vague silhouette emerged against the dark horizon. The locomotive advanced steadily, its headlight slicing through the darkness to reveal ornate yet decaying carriages. Through the ghostly glow of its windows, Ethan could barely discern shadowy figures, a congregation of souls trapped in eternal limbo. When the train halted at the platform, time itself seemed to slow. The creaking doors opened with a drawn-out sigh, beckoning him to witness a scene beyond mortal comprehension. With trembling hands and a heart pounding with equal parts dread and curiosity, Ethan stepped forward. Inside, the carriage was shrouded in a mist of memories. Faded photographs hung on peeling walls, and old-fashioned luggage lay scattered across the dusty floor. Ethereal voices murmured as if recounting tragic tales of loss and regret. In one corner, an open weathered journal bore desperate pleas and cryptic warnings about the curse that bound the train and its passengers. Then, as if conjured by the night itself, a spectral conductor appeared, a gaunt figure in a tattered uniform, his eyes empty yet pleading. "All who board this train are bound to its fate," he intoned in a voice that trembled with both authority and sorrow. Though paralyzed by terror, Ethan's desire to document every moment overwhelmed his fear. The conductor motioned toward an empty seat, inviting him to sit. At that moment, the air grew oppressively cold, and the mournful whistle of the train echoed like a dirge, marking the finality of lost time. As the train slowly began to move, Ethan felt a profound sadness seep into his very bones. Outside, the window framed fleeting scenes of a bygone era, ghostly figures bidding farewell, ruins of a once thriving town, and a sky torn apart by despair. The locomotive seemed to traverse not merely space, but the very fabric of anguish, carrying its doomed passengers toward a destiny from which no mortal could escape. When the journey ended, Ethan found himself alone on a fog-shrouded platform. The train had vanished, leaving behind only the echo of its lament. His recordings captured every haunting detail, and as he retraced his steps through the desolate station, he realized that some legends are best left unsolved. The memory of that midnight ride, the faces of the lost, and the conductor's sorrowful warning would haunt him forever, an eternal reminder that some trains once departed never truly leave the realm of the damned. The storm battered fiercely against the rocky shore as Daniel Hart approached the old cliffside lighthouse. Perched on a lonely outcrop overlooking the ocean, the abandoned lighthouse had stood dormant for decades, shrouded in unsettling legends. Locals whispered of a solitary keeper who vanished mysteriously on a stormy night exactly 50 years ago. Daniel, a history professor drawn to unsolved mysteries, had driven through winding coastal roads to spend the weekend documenting the forgotten landmark. Parking his car, he stepped out, rain pelting relentlessly against his coat. A sharp gust slammed the rusty gate shut behind him, almost as a warning. Inside, the lighthouse was a damp labyrinth of spiral staircases and shadow-filled rooms. Armed with only his flashlight and notebook, Daniel began exploring. Dust-covered furniture hinted at the life once lived there. A half-written journal, a pair of cracked spectacles, an old pocket watch stopped at precisely 11:34. Suddenly, Daniel noticed something peculiar. A faded photograph tucked behind an old cabinet. Pulling it free, he saw the smiling face of a young woman, her expression gentle yet profoundly sad. The back bore a cryptic inscription: "She waits for me at the storm's edge." Intrigued and unsettled, Daniel ascended the narrow stairs to the lantern room, where wind howled through shattered windows. The view from the lighthouse was both terrifying and magnificent. Angry waves crashed against the cliffs, illuminated by flashes of lightning. He stood there, transfixed, until a sudden whisper echoed through the storm. "Daniel!" Startled, he spun around. He was alone, yet the voice had clearly spoken his name. A chill crept down his spine. He aimed his flashlight around, the beam catching a hidden door set into the wall. Strange, he hadn't noticed it before. Pushing open the secret passage, Daniel descended into darkness, heart pounding. The stone stairs led him down into a subterranean cavern beneath the lighthouse. There, in the shadows, stood a small boat gently rocking upon dark waters, as if waiting patiently. Approaching carefully, Daniel saw someone sitting silently inside the boat. A figure cloaked in an old lighthouse keeper's coat, face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. Daniel's breath caught. "Who are you?" he asked. Slowly, the figure lifted his head, revealing an elderly face with deep-set, sorrowful eyes. He spoke softly. "I've been waiting for you." "You're here to replace me." Daniel stepped back, fear rising. "Replace you? What do you mean?" The keeper smiled sadly. 50 years ago, I found this very boat and the keeper before me. Every storm demands a keeper. It's a duty bound to the lighthouse, to keep the sea from claiming more souls. Tonight, Daniel, you've come to relieve me." Panicking, Daniel turned and bolted back up the stairs. But each turn of the spiral staircase brought him inexplicably back down, returning him again and again to the keeper and the boat. Exhausted, he fell to his knees. "You cannot escape," whispered the keeper. "It is your destiny, as it was mine." Suddenly, Daniel remembered the photograph. Pulling it from his pocket, he showed it to the old man. The keeper's eyes filled with tears. My beloved Eleanor, she waits beyond the storm. I could never join her until another took my place. Understanding dawned upon Daniel. It was not imprisonment, but sacrifice, guarding a cursed lighthouse, forever lost between the worlds of the living and the departed. Accepting his fate, Daniel stepped slowly into the boat. As he did, the old keeper rose, handing Daniel the pocket watch frozen at 11:34. "Welcome, keeper," he said softly, stepping onto dry land for the first time in decades. In an instant, the cavern vanished. Daniel was alone, gently rocking on endless stormy seas, awaiting another storm, another soul. Time stood still at 11:34. In the lighthouse above, the old keeper stepped out into the rain, smiling as he faded into the storm, finally free to reunite with Eleanor. David had always enjoyed driving at night. The empty roads, the flickering streetlights, the hum of the engine. It was peaceful, almost meditative. Something about the stillness made the world feel smaller, more manageable. But tonight was different. It was past midnight when he turned onto a long, desolate stretch of highway cutting through dense woods. He had taken this route before, but tonight something felt off. Maybe it was the mist creeping in from the trees, or maybe it was the dead silence. No signs of life anywhere. Not a single car had passed him in miles. The road ahead seemed endless, swallowed by darkness. Then he saw her. A woman was standing on the side of the road, barely illuminated by his headlights. She wasn't hitchhiking, just standing there, arms hanging loosely by her sides, her face obscured by long dark hair. David slowed down instinctively. She might need help. But as he got closer, something about her posture, her unnatural stillness, made his stomach twist. She didn't react to the car at all. Most people would have flinched, turned toward the lights, but she remained perfectly still, as though she wasn't even aware of him. David's fingers tightened around the wheel. He told himself to keep driving. It wasn't his problem. Then she turned her head, not fast, not sudden, just a slow, deliberate movement, as if she were listening. And then she smiled, a wide, unnatural grin that stretched too far, showing too many teeth. David's breath caught in his throat. A cold, primal fear took hold of him, bypassing all logic. His foot slammed the gas pedal before his brain could process it. The car lurched forward, tires screeching against the pavement. His heart pounded as he watched her disappear in the rearview mirror. Jesus, he exhaled, hands trembling on the wheel. What the hell was that? For several minutes, he focused only on the road, forcing his breathing to steady. But then, out of habit, his eyes flicked up to the mirror again. She was sitting in the back seat. David screamed, his entire body locked up in terror. The woman sat perfectly still behind him, her hair still covering most of her face, but her mouth still grinning. He swerved violently, nearly losing control. She didn't move. Frantic, he reached for his phone, hands shaking so badly he could barely press the buttons. He glanced back. The seat was empty. No one was there. Breathing heavily, he pulled over, heart hammering against his ribs. He turned around fully. The back seat was completely empty. Had he imagined it? The stress, the darkness, his exhaustion. Was his mind playing tricks? He exhaled shakily, rubbing his face. Just tired, he muttered. Just tired. He was about to put the car in drive again when he felt it. Breath. Warm, slow breath against the side of his neck. He froze. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Keep driving,"